We got a lot of questions. Like, hey, can you cover this? Can you cover nitrous stuff? Mr. Brian Wise, one wise Brian in here. And the question we kept getting over and over and over was data loggers. Can you show how to read a data logger, or some of the stuff there? And it's hard to tell somebody or show somebody how to read a data logger, because a lot of people are on different levels of their knowledge. Some people may know up here about what they're looking at. Some people may know here. If you're talking, say, Nick Chapman's in here. So if I'm talking to Nick Chapman about data loggers, whether it's a Racepak or a Haltech or Holly or whatever you're using to log data, he knows a lot more than somebody who maybe has only been doing this for 6 months. So I wanted to be able to, okay, I want to talk about this, but I want to make sure that everybody's kind of on the same level. Eric Saffel, good morning, sir. Eric Saffel is one of the head guys at AFCO. He helps us out a whole bunch, and I'm glad he's in here because he's actually gotten to see a lot of this stuff that I'm talking about. So today I'm going to start with, I don't want to call it the basics, but reading a time slip. Now, there's a lot of stuff in a time slip that people don't even look at because it's not written on there. You have to look at it and figure out your math or anything like that. So reading a time slip, I want to talk about data, the data that you get from the time slip, the data you get from your car, keeping data written down, all of that, and then data loggers. So I'm going to get into all of this, and I actually am going to, it's taboo, I'm going to show you my own time slips. Oh no, the car is gone. My old car, our old car, I'm sorry, is actually in Ohio now, so I do not mind showing some of my time slips. Now, if it was a no-time event, you're not going to see that time slip because I have too much respect for the people that I was racing there. I don't want them, so if I was beating them, or if I was side by side with them, or hey, maybe they flat out outran me. Now, if you go, oh, he ran this against them and he beat them, so now you can kind of judge stuff like that. So I won't do that. But what I will show is we did some testing on 33 10.5Ws for when we went down to Georgia. And I've got a lot of data from that. And I'm going to show you our first couple passes on that up here in Minnesota at Brainerd International Raceway. So let's get started. We're going to go over time slips, what you get from them, and then what you can find from them, how to read them, everything like that. So we're going to take this out. I kind of already pre-wrote stuff. Boom! Oh, secret data. No! Oh my God, the internet's going to hate me. Whatever. So we did some testing on Hey Clinton Kilpatrick, some 33 10.5Ws. In our first couple passes, we went out and hit it very, very soft, and then these are our first passes. I think these are the first two passes from when we finally started to get after it and make some progress. So we had one pass. Our 60-foot, we went a 1:14.7. To the 330, a 3:14.3, and to the 660, a 4:80 with an 8. Okay. After that, we looked at our data. We were able to find a few things and then make some changes. And then we ended up going, there's a little bit of a glare here, but it's a 112 with a 6, 3.111, and a 476.6. Okay. So what did we find in that data? Now that's where I want to go over with the time slips. So something that a lot of people do not recognize or realize is, even if you may not have a data logger, there's a lot of data you can get. So what did I change from this pass to this pass? What did what were we able to look at and see and touch, feel, everything there? Well, the first thing I do is I take and I pull the data out of our car and I write on my time slips. This is some stuff here. Now, if you have time slips from this last year and everything like that, grab your time slips after this is done, or while we're doing this, grab it and write down with me because it's nice and easy. So I call this here the back split. These are going to be called splits. So BS is what I'm going to call it because I'm full of it. And up here, this is the front split. Now, this is all based on 8th mile racing. James Livingston. How's it going, James? Mr. Pro Mod James. So, which he's not actually a Pro Mod guy at all, but he's just super smart. So, the back split here is where you're going to take your 660 ET and subtract from your 330 ET. Boom! So the 1.665. Now, what does that tell us? That told us from when we were at the 330 foot mark to the 660 foot mark, we covered that in 1.665 seconds. Okay. How does that help us? Well, it's going to help you out when you have multiple passes to be able to look at. Now, your front split, your 660 to the 330. Oh, man. Data. We went by 1.996 there. Now, this is great because I can look at passes where I've had time slips or anything like that from other races. I go, oh, I may have covered the ground here, in this much time or this much time. They give you your time slip of your 3.143, okay? And then over here, a 3.111. Now, it doesn't tell you how fast you went from here to here, though. It only tells you from when you started at 0, how long it took you to get to here. We want to know when you're applying power, how well did you do it? How quick did you get it in right here? Okay, so, sorry, I'm OCD on that. That line wasn't there. Same with this one. I can see it in the camera. Anyways, so we went back. We looked, okay, how much power were we applying there? And I can even tell you that. Cody Kirkner, you only run 8th mile. No, Corey, I'm sorry. I said Cody on that. I apologize. Corey Kirkner, we run a lot of 8th mile, but we do still run some quarter mile stuff. But for this here, I wanted to go over the 8th mile. That way we weren't covering all of this stuff. We can, have it nice and short here. So good question, though. A lot of the country is going to 8th mile, 660 racing, but there is still a lot of quarter mile racing out there. But anyways, sorry to go off on that. So we were able to look at how much power we were applying here, how much, when was the power at, what was the timing at, what was the fuel at. We were able to look at all of that in this pass and see what our front split is, back split. We have all of the things from the time slip there. So now I can go in and I can even look down here. I have my data sitting right here. Okay, I'm going to show you guys a little bit about that data stuff, but I don't want to give away everything. But I can tell you I left on my nitrous. I was only leaving on 30%. Okay, to get this. And how long was, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to tell you how long the progressive was, but there was a progressive on it. We didn't hit it with everything on there. So we were able to look at that and make a tune for the next pass. The next pass, we were able to obviously drop quite a bit of ET on there. And we went 476, and we had a back split of 4.655. So we dropped an entire 100th out of there. Okay, now 100th, you can see that that math doesn't add up here. Well, it's not always going to add up because it's just telling you how fast you covered from here to here. It's not going to necessarily be exponential on that. So where you can see 100th here, you're going to see 200ths there. It's not always like that. But and then we were able to, in the front split, we dropped another 100th here. So that's 200ths that we dropped. Now 200ths out of here should have put us at 78. Nope, that doesn't work that way. Like I said, it's not exponential. So just by seeing we had here for splits, I was able to go, okay, well now how fast did we cover everything here? So we went from a 114 to a 112. Let me look here. What did I change? We went from 30 on the nitrous to 50. So I hit 50% nitrous off of the button, and there was still progressive. I'm not going to tell you what the jets are, and I'm not going to tell you what the progressive time was. I still do keep something secret, even though I'm showing you some times here. But so this is part of reading a time slip. When you take your time slip and you go, okay, I've got my 60 foot, I've got my 330, I've got my 660. If you are, as Corey Kirkner was asking earlier, if you are running a quarter mile deal on there, then you'll have down here, you'll have your 1,000 foot and your 1320. and then those are all splits in between there. Now, if you look, besides your 60 to 330, everything is going to be roughly 330 feet apart. I know it's weird. It's a crazy concept. So 330 to 660, 330 feet. And then if you do run quarter mile, your 660 to 1,000 is going to be 340 feet. And then you're going to have 320 feet to the quarter mile there. So everything is kind of based right around that 330 feet. There are some tracks that use a 990 instead of 1,000 foot. That's them. But I think it would make more sense for your splits to do that. But they use 1,000 foot. That's just what it is. So, anyways, but you can have those splits all the way through there. Now, on a well set up car, whether it's a nitrous car or turbo car, blower car, you should see your splits from here to here, and then further down in quarter mile stuff there, get quicker because you should be accelerating the entire time. And since it is roughly very, very close to the same amount of distance, you should have a smaller and smaller time as it's progressing. If all of a sudden you're going down and one of your splits is slower, that means something is happening. It's no longer accelerating on there, and you need to look at your data or for a hole in the block. So that's kind of that there. So now that we've talked about reading a time slip, now there's also mile an hour and everything on here. You can look at all of that, but I wanted to cover the actual ET stuff on here. So let's talk about data. Now, all of this that you have here, this is data. Okay, you get your time slips. You can write it down. You can put it in a book. You can do anything like that, and that is data. You don't have to have a data logger. You need to log your data. Okay. Whatever data you get, you need to make sure you write that down. Keep it in there. I mean, you can go to JEGS, and they sell a data book that you can take and write down all of your stuff in, and you just write down on there. I like to keep it by the date on here. Let's see if I can do this decently well. Okay, I'm gonna cover up some of that stuff, but as you can see right up at the top, I have it all on there. So how I keep it in there is that I keep it the same way that it's going to be on my computer. But I like to put the date on there, so like 9/2, and then I will call it like T1 for testing 1, 9/2, and then T2 for testing 2. If it's just a day of testing, there you go. If I'm at a race where we have to qualify, at Brainerd, we run the muscle car series up here, and that is a quarter mile deal where you have to qualify. So I will run, say, like I'll name it 9-1 or 9-1 Q1. Okay, and then that's the same thing. I keep it in my computer as well, so I can always go back and see that exact same pass. I can lay it on top of each other. I can do any of that there. So keeping your data written down is very, very important. Now, your time slips are part of your data. This is great, but what did you change? What did you change pass to pass on there? That's where on our data sheets, where I'll grab a blank one. My lovely wife. Sorry, I'm going to answer a question from Brian Gadecki in just a little bit here. My lovely wife is actually the one. She used some computer program and made these for me. So let's go like this. Has 2018 data, so we've got new ones coming up for this year, stuff we want to change. But we have your DA, temperature, water, wind, your nitrous. This is what I have on here. Pressure before the pass, after the pass, so I can see how much it dropped. Total timing, this is all the stuff on here. And then all the way down here, I actually rewrite all my time slips down. So I can go back and see what did we change, what did it affect, and I can go back just like now. I haven't made a pass in 3-4 months, but I can go back and pull up all of my stuff on my laptop that's over here. I'm going to show you guys in a sec. And I can pull up all the time slips, everything like this. Now, why is it important? Well, one, it's important so you can figure out what changes it made the best on there. So if you're talking to, say, Jimmy Plimpton, he's from the Wisconsin, Minnesota area, does some tuning, very, very nice guy. You say, hey, Jimmy, I want to hire you for a weekend to help me figure out our car. Okay, cool. So Jimmy comes out here and he comes to help you. And Excel spreadsheets, yes, Jeanette. Brian Gadecki, I'm going to get to your question here in just a sec, so hold on. Um, so Jimmy comes out and says, okay, I'm going to help you tune your car up, and we're going to figure out how to get this thing to go A to B and everything like that. What did you run before? And you go, I don't know. I haven't written anything down. Well, it's really hard for a tuner like that to come out and say, yeah, I'll read that, James, here in a sec. But it's hard for him to say, okay, well, we're making improvements if you don't have that data to begin with. Now, I obviously had to learn to keep all of this data. A person that helped me figure out all of this was Nick Chapman. He helped me do a lot of our tuning at the beginning of last year and into the later part of the season. He's a very nice guy, so if you have any questions or you're looking for somebody to help you tune, get a hold of Nick Chapman. It is he has a new business, CPR for your car, Chapman Performance and Racing. So look him up on Facebook there. He can help you out. I have to give him the credit there. He helped me out with a lot of this, so I'm not going to say that I'm the end-all, be-all, smartest man in the world. He helped out a lot. Okay, James Livingston, don't forget about the height of the beams down the track, i.e. reading the front tire versus the body of the car. It will skew your time a bit if you pass the 660 on the with the front a foot in the air. Absolutely. So we have on here notes. There's a place on here where you can write all your notes down. So say you did a big wheel stand and your 60 foot is a little bit slower than it was before. So it messes up your front split, but your back split and the 336/60 were really good. Well, there's a good chance you had the tires in the air. Mr. Brian Carpenter is in here. He used to run some Outlaw 10.5 stuff where they would carry those front tires out to the 330. Well, that's going to completely mess up your 60 foot because you trip the beams at the tree with your front tire, but you trip the 60 foot with your back tire. So there's a big difference there, and that's where your notes would come in. You know, it's if you write down you went 125 on the back tire. Okay, well, that makes more sense because you tripped the beams on the back tire. Those are all notes you need to keep in your data. So, let's see here. Brian Gadecki had a question that I want to address. What's the minimum you look for on a split to confirm it made a change? If it was only 3,000, do you consider that not a change? Are you looking for hundredths? Okay, Brian, thousands make hundredths, hundredths make tenths. Okay, it sounds stupid, but I'll chase 3,000. Because if I can make 3,000 on the front split, 3,000 on the back split, I'm going to have a better 660. The thing that I will look, if you have a split there change and you say that it's only 3,000 change, what else changed? Did you make a change, or was there a big swing in the air? You know, was did the air drop from 70 degrees to 60 degrees, and now the barometric pressure changed from that. All the stuff is going to change on there. So look at, if you run into a problem like that, look to see if there was something else that may have caused it. If you put the exact same tune in there, everything's the same, and it changed 3,000 on there, I would be looking at that weather on that. If you double check all of the stuff that you did. It's really easy to fat finger a keystroke and put the wrong thing on there. So, all right, we had some other people on here. Okay, so now that we've talked a little bit about the time slips, we've talked about keeping data, writing it all down, making sure you have it all on there. That's very, very big. Let's talk about. Let me flip back over here. Talk about Dataloggers. Oh, it's on the front page. Oh, second page. My bad. Front page is from No Mercy down in Georgia. So let's talk about Dataloggers. Now, a data logger a lot of people have them, and they can give you so much information. You look at it and go, I don't know what I'm looking at, and that's a lot of times what happens. You know, you can go on there, you go, well, here's a squiggly line here and a squiggly line there. What do I do with that? And that's a very common thing where people look at it. Hey, Mr. Bill Kreck is on here. How's it going? He's the gentleman I actually bought my Datalogger from. So thank you, Bill. So there's a lot of different Dataloggers out there. You can get an RPM, you can get a Racepak. I like Racepak because a lot of people have Racepak. So if I need to send a file out to somebody, they can open it up. I just give them the information, what my Racepak is. And sorry, leg was cramping up there. What it is, and then they can then take and open it up, see it. They have all the same software. If you're working with a specific tuner, say you're working with Nick Chapman, like I was saying there, he does a lot of Haltech stuff. So he may, want you to, if you have a Haltech system, send your Haltech data versus if you have a Haltech and a Racepak on there, sending both because he's more proficient in using the Haltech data on there versus the Racepak. Now he's proficient both, but I'm just using that for an example on there. So there's a lot of different ones on there. So now that we have, let's say we have data, we have time slips that are in our data. Let's look at a data logger and what we can figure out from this. Like I said, we use a Racepak. I'm going to turn my camera around here. Okay, now this is going to be a little bit harder to see. Maybe we'll move the camera a little bit closer. There we go. So what we have here is I have a T3 and a T4 run. So like I said, we had a couple of different ones there. Now I can take and go up at the top on here to where it says graph, and it'll give me just the things I have selected. Now, remember back when I said we went a 199 front split on our first pass, which was actually T4, but we can go on here and go 199, I'm sorry, we went 114.7. So we can go to exactly at 114.3. I can zoom in a little bit more and get it more accurate. But so let's see. I need a pointer. Here's where our 60 foot was. So we went from our start to 60 foot, and then from here to the 330, because on here it doesn't tell us 330. We can go to exactly what the 330 reads, or we can go what the difference is. Now, the 330, the difference between our two passes that we had on there, we went 314 and 311. So if we mark here and we go to that 3.0, let's go to 3111 right there. Now, what was better in the two passes? So we have, here's all of our RPM. Well, it looks like we changed the shift point. Okay, we went with a higher shift on there, which allowed it to accelerate a little bit better. Looks like since we gave it a little bit more nitrous to begin with, we have a little bit higher RPM and it's accelerating harder. So now we can look at that exact split. What changed from here to here? All right, and that's where those splits are really going to help us. We can go back in and say, what did we have for, let's take a look here. We can look at nitrous fuel pressure. What was our nitrous fuel pressure doing? It looks like it was moving around a bunch. Why was it moving around? Okay, well now we can go and say, let's look at our acceleration G's. Okay, so we accelerated very hard in here, but down over here where we were at the, from our front split from here to here, the acceleration was coming down. But what was it on our previous pass? Well, our acceleration G's, a little bit of the same, but looks like we had our shift point, obviously, sooner on this one. So we can say that it kind of looks like it held on to the acceleration G's a little bit harder until that shift point happened. So a lot of different stuff you can use with your data logger, and then knowing where to look since you have your splits written down on there is going to help out tremendously. I'm looking over at the computer at the same time because since the camera's not on me. Is there anything that people, besides all of my secret stuff, want to see? Since I'm able to show you a bunch of the stuff on here, I can pull up certain things that you may want to see. I can go to, where's my nitrous pressure, bottle pressure. So I try to keep bottle pressure very similar. I like to be right around 950 when I make a pass. So here is bottle pressure. You can see they kind of lay right on top of each other as you're going down the track, all the way down. So we can see with the data logger, we can compare from pass to pass the stuff that's not on our time slip, where on the time slip, we can lay them side by side and we can see what our splits are. We can see what that is. We can write everything down, but there's the things that the data logger are going to show you, like your bottle pressure, that you're not going to see unless you have a camera or something in there. So we can do shocks. Did I have shock? Yep, I have my rear shock sensors on there. So we made a couple of adjustments on shocks. So you can see down track, Mr. Eric Saffel was helping us this day via the phone. Down track, we were getting the shocks to bite a little bit harder going down track. It was pushing it down, forcing it in here, and our shocks were coming down a lot harder down track, and thusly why we had a 100th better from our 330 here to our ET, our final ET here, that was biting a little bit better, and we were able to get a little bit more ET out of that. So a very good thing there. So when we are looking at stuff, I'll take multiple times. Say when I went out, or when we went out. Sorry, I terrible at saying I instead of we, because we are a team here. My father and I do a lot of this together. Excuse me. When we go out, like for these 3310.5s that we were testing on for the first time, I didn't know what to put in for a tune. So I went back and looked at, our previous tunes that we had, and I kind of did a little research on the tire of what it's gonna like, and I could see, okay, I'm gonna use the tune that I had for my my 0 to 60 foot was soft here, but it always went down. So I used that tune here, and then I can have a portion of a tune from, I had a good front split in it right here, and then I can have a back split tune that I know is safe, is going to work there. And you can build an entire tune off of the data you already have, and then you can verify it all right here on your data logger. Helps out a tremendous amount when you're trying new things and you are trying to tune, you're getting ready for a race, anything like that. So having the data logger does help. You do not need it, but when you are trying to chase, hundredths and such on there and thousandths, it helps out quite a bit. So that is that there. That is kind of part of reading the data logger, is having all of your data available. Let's turn this back around because it's boring to look at. Oh. My production quality isn't the greatest because I'm just using a very small camera, but it works. So having the data logger and all of the data here, that's kind of where I wanted to go with all of everything on there, is having how to read your time slip. That's going to give you the data that you need and to write everything down. And then if you are able to have a data logger, you can read everything on the data logger with your data. It helps you put together a tune. It helps you do everything there. I've been able to go to say Cash at the Creek, even King of the Streets, COTS. which is that is happening again this year. But anyways, I won't get into all that stuff. We've been able to go out there for testing or for just the race, anything. I can look at the track, go, okay, the track is fairly sticky. What's the weather like? Okay, the weather is here. We're on this tire. I can put together a tune based off of all of our data we have before. Okay, it should front split this. It should back split this. It should be roughly this ET, and we should have our tire pressures here. We can do all of that because we've kept all of this data the entire time. The weather data, the car data, and the data from all of our time slips. That's kind of all of that can change your program around very, very quickly. If you're looking for, there we go. Sorry, I'm at my desk, and if you've been to our shop, you'll know that my desk is kind of small. My mom's desk is right there because she does all of our bookwork, so we're right next to each other. So it's super fun. I love my mother to death, so don't take that as I'm ragging on my mom. But at times when you see your mom all the time, you're like, hey, I'm ready to go to the back or have my own office. So, but anyways, if you're looking for a weather station, this is a Kestrel 5100 is what this is called. It was designed by Kestrel specifically for racers. It even says right on here. Let's see if we can get it on there. Racing weather. So it will. It'll tell you all the stuff that you want to know on there. We can turn it on quick. That's super easy to use. There we go. So the density altitude, or corrected altitude, as some people will call it, in my shop right now, it's climbing a little bit, but we're at like 1,800 feet. Let's see. Oh, sorry about that. We can scroll through. There's the air density. That's a couple other screens to give you a bunch of wind speed. So at the wind speed, you can. So now it has a wind speed deal on there. It will also tell you the temperature in here is 71.5 degrees. And we have 27% humidity. But for a lot of the nitrous guys out here, we have water grains. And that helps out quite a bit. So you know how much water you're trying to burn on there. If you don't know about water grains and you want to learn more about how to tune with water grains and everything like that, that is something that I just do not give out for free because there's a lot of testing we've done to figure all that out. So you can contact me. I can help you tune and get you kind of set up with that. Jimmy Plimpton has a new shop. You can get a hold of him. He will also help you out there. Or CPR for your car, Chapman Performance and Racing. You can hire him, and he will also get you set up with a little bit about the water grains and how everything is tuned there with all of that. There are some things that we've worked very hard for, we've paid for, and I'm just not going to give that information out. So, Kirkner, I'm pumped for Cash at the Creek this year. Corey, so are we if we get our car done. We have our new car going together, and it's a lot of work trying to get a whole brand new car together. It's a lot. When I'm done here, I'm going back there working on the car again. I took a week of vacation this last week, so if anybody out there tried to get a hold of me or send me emails or anything like that, I didn't respond. It's because I was just off. I was here, but I was in the back working on my car because I had to try to get caught up. So, yeah, so we're just plugging away on that car, trying to get it ready. You can follow us on social media, Bad Influence. You can go on, that's on Facebook, Instagram, Bad Influence MN _MN. I apologize there. And follow us there. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, reach out. I've got some time to kill. I went through everything really fast. I thought I was going to take my time, but I didn't. So I can kind of hang out, and if there's any questions you guys have on time slips, on data or Dataloggers, feel free to ask. I've got some time to kill here. I always say I'm going to do 45 minutes, and I'm at about 35, so I can open up questions if there's any questions out there on anything really. So it my main thing for doing all of these, the Race Car Church, is I had to spend a lot of time and learn all of this stuff, or in some cases pay for it, but a lot of times it was learned, and I want to make sure that everybody else out there has that opportunity, because not everybody else has the opportunity to say, "Oh, I'm going to go, find all these people and get all this information." Not sometimes a lot of people they're assholes and they don't want to give you the information. That's fine. It's their information. They have the same ideas. I had to work for it, so you should have to as well. But some of this is basic stuff. This is math. This is just math. If you went through high school math, you can figure this out. Grab a calculator. You can do this stuff here and keep it down. Steve Tisdale, thank you for the time explaining this. I'm new and want to learn. Not a problem, Steve. If you ever have any questions, like I said, feel free to reach out. This is all, like I said, this is basic math. You can grab a calculator. You can do it. Grabbing a notebook and writing down data, or Excel spreadsheet. Make a spreadsheet and put all of your information in there and keep track of the data. Everybody likes to go out there, let off the button, let off the brake, do anything like that, and go fast. I mean, that at the end of the day, we all like going fast, but you also have to treat this like if you've put a bunch of money into your car and you've put a bunch of money into your racing program, everything like that. Yeah, treat it almost like a job. You go up there, you're there to do a job. You're there to cut a light on a tree. You're there to, stage the car quickly. You're there to get to the other end safely and not wreck the car, because you probably have people that are helping you. So they've done their job to get the car up to the line, help you out, get it there. Now it's your time to do your job as a driver and a tuner, or if you're just the tuner, make sure you write down the data. You have all of your information. You cut the light. You get back there. When you get everything, you come back, write everything down. If you don't write it down, now you're just shooting in the dark on there. So, Earl Walker, what's the price of helping one tune with the water grains and nitrous? Earl, you can feel free to send me a message, and we can discuss pricing depending on exactly what all you need to know besides just that. Do you need, how much more data do you need besides just the help? Do you want us to help you when you're at the track, or do you just want me to say, hey, here's a basic stuff, there you go? Stuff like that. The pricing can vary a bit on there, but shoot me a message on here, Greg Schmidt, or you can send a message to Bad Influence on here, and we can definitely help you out. Otherwise, like I said, Jimmy Plimpton and Nick Chapman, both of them are able to help out as well. They're also going to charge you as well. It's not like it's an arm and a leg, but we've done a lot of work with this, so we don't want to just give it out. Do you notice a big difference between the 10.5 tire and my big meats? Yes. Do you want more than that? Yes, I did. There you go. There's my answer for you, Brian. Pew pew, 2 shots in the dark. Thanks, James Livingston. So between our big meats and the 10.5 tire, now this is on a prepped track. We had found, and this is common knowledge out there, that the 10.5 tire wanted to be hit much, much harder off the line. They have a stiffer sidewall, and a lot of times they recommend that you run a tube inside those tires as well. So it's very, very stiff. So you're trying to drive that tire into the ground, but it's able to take it. And that was the crazy thing, where I would leave on, 30% tune on my big tires, I'd have to have a completely different ramp in there to keep the tire nice and round than a 30% tune on the 10.5 tires. So yeah, there was quite a bit of a difference. On ET, there was a little bit of a difference. If you're in certain groups, I've talked about which one was quicker, and that's another thing that I choose to give out to certain people. So thanks. So you can be reached at Bad Influence on Facebook. Yes, Earl Walker. I run our Facebook page for Bad Influence, the Third Gen Camaro. You can get a hold of me on there, send a message, and we can talk about it there. Jamie Dolph, later, if I message you, can I get a screenshot of a blank data sheet of what your wife made up? I've got generic ones. Yeah, I can definitely, show you that, because these are my old data sheets, and we're gonna have new ones this year since we have a new car. We have a couple more things we want to keep data on. So Brian Gadecki would be okay to speak with you on some timing parameters. There you go. The dark art of wheel speed versus dead hook. James Livingston is 100% true there. The wheel speed and dead hook is dead hooking has to do with wheel speed, but it's how you are getting your wheel speed. Are you getting it to hook up and then building your wheel speed? Your camera down. Show much. My camera. I don't know what you're talking about, Jamie Dolph. I apologize. But yeah, when you're talking about a dead hook, do you want to get the tire to dead hook like on a radial and then build wheel speed to go up? Oh, spilled my coffee. Or are you trying to get some wheel speed with a little bit of spin in it? Do you want to, that big tire stuff is so finicky. Where, don't get me wrong, small tire stuff is very finicky as well. But like if you start to shake a tire, did you shake because it started to spin? Did you spin because it started to shake? Did it go out of round? Did it go out around on the backside of the tire, which came around on there, or did it go out around on the front, or is it trying to drive over itself and go into a tire wad? All of that comes into play. It's enough to make you pull your hair out and lose sleep, but it happens. So we choose to be on big tires and wheelie bars. Deal with, as I like to say, deal with your shit. If you choose to do something, do that. If you choose to build a third gen Camaro like I'm building on there, the things are small. You're trying to put 10 or 12 pounds of shit in a 5-pound fucking bag. You really got to pack it in there. It's a pain in the ass. They're very narrow for their width, where a Mustang is a little bit wider. Not much, but a little bit. But if you're trying to build like a big tire Mustang, well, now that's a whole nother issue there. So, okay, well, we are getting close. Matthew Rower is back. Hi, Matthew Rower. Thane Maher. I went to college with that gentleman there. He used to be a roundy round guy. Now he's building a drag car. He's brought here a couple times. Pretty cool. I'm just glad that he's in a big block Chev. James Livingston for 3 days. Yes. So if you guys don't know, James Livingston helped us down in Georgia. I've talked about it a couple times. He works at Nitrous Outlet there. Helped us get our car going down because the track prep was so different. So we were on a 33-10-5W. That's what this testing was for. And we'd go out there and we could not get it to go down the track, because it would spin the tire so bad. We couldn't figure it out. And James helped us out, pointed us in the right direction, and helped us out with some tuning, and talked with us about some tire shear, tire when it's spinning, all of that. So, yeah, that's a education that you would also need to pay for. So I I can't thank James enough for helping us out with it. Whether you're paying somebody to help you or you pay for it in time lost, it's a lot. Got to rewatch this later. We are headed to brunch. Thanks, Greg. Not a problem, Clint Kilpatrick. Brunch. What are you, 45 years old? Jeez. Gotta head to brunch. So, Mikey Rees, thank you for tuning in. Paul Randall, I'm just about to end, but you can watch us again. I appreciate it. I'm going to drink my coffee. I'm going to go work on my stupid third gen. Mikey Rees has a third gen too, but his is really cool. Mine's not as cool. So maybe one day I'll just be as cool as him. Thane Maher says he's got a small block Olds in the works for his drag car. It's not a good idea there, but okay. Everybody makes mistakes, but you just keep doing it over and over. And I think that's going to be about it.